Okay, cool, folks. So it might be a little bit loud in here tonight, but that's okay. We're visiting with some family. We're down in Siesta Key. We're having a fantastic time. Literally just got pulled into this place and walked down, saw the sunset, came up here and got set up. So Julie came up with the idea of discussing the fact that we do this business from everywhere. And we're having a friggin' blast over here. So a little bit about what's going on. I found out about this note business. It's got to be 14 years ago now. And I really didn't think that we would be at such a level to be able to do this business so comfortably and so efficiently from pretty much anywhere. And, we were on the road Friday. We received a payoff request for one of the loans. And so I have two seats for Moneylender Professional. One of them is on my laptop. One of them's at my desktop. So all I had to do was copy my portfolios from the desktop onto the laptop, which would give me updated information. And we printed off the payoff statement, and now we're waiting on a check. So a little bit about that, being able to do this business. Communicating with attorneys, no problem. We did that from the car the other day. Communicating with our partners that we're in business with. So you really need to get set up, and this is the time to do it, getting prepared. I had a nice chat. We actually came down and visited Tom Nardone, or he came to visit us, and had a nice chat about discussing the future of this whole COVID situation and the repercussions of it going into the future. You know, we're down in Florida and talking to the locals, getting a feel for where everything is, and they're like, we're off. We're definitely way off where we're supposed to be. Number-wise, the bars and restaurants were kind of quiet for the most part in Delray Beach. The hotel was, I would say, at 15 to 20% of capacity. I went down into the parking garage and the place was empty below the hotel. So will it be like that forever? Absolutely not. Will we see a recovery in travel? Absolutely. I mean, people are already jonesing. Every person that we talked to at the pool was down there looking for condos. That blew me away. I just wouldn't expect that. But literally every person that we talked to were down there looking for condos. One guy was like, we looked at so many condos. Myself and my team, we woke up this morning and got vitamin shots from an RN who came and actually visited them at the hotel to get these vitamin shots so that they could keep running around, going crazy, looking at as many condos as they can. So are we in a bubble? Absolutely. Will this bubble pop? No one knows when. And so that's the interesting thing about going on the road and experiencing what's going on throughout this country and how things are going to shape up. So you can absolutely do this business from anywhere, and in such a short amount of time get so much done. It's fantastic. You know, it takes a little planning ahead. The tools that I use, what I love, I don't know. I think you guys are pretty familiar with my scheduling software. I think pretty much everyone on here has used my Vcita account to schedule a call with me. And that linked up with my Google Calendar has freed me up to a life of complete control. And I had a discussion with someone the other day, and they were talking about people that are always busy, always rushing around, always scrambling, myself included. I mean, for years and years, just driving down to Florida from New Jersey, we hated it. It was hell, because I realized that we hated Florida because it was that big long drive that we had to take. It's 20 hours, or some people tell me they did it in 15 or 16. We were having a competition. Someone told me that they made it from Isla Mirada to Clark, New Jersey in 22 hours. He had a dual tank pickup truck, and he made it from New Jersey down to Georgia before stopping, which is like freaking incredible. But I realized why I hated Florida back then when I was working was because I wanted to spend every last minute down here at the beach enjoying myself, and then just get in the car and hurry up and shut up. And my kids can attest to it. Like, sit down and shut up and let's roll, man, and just take it on the road and fly, speed, and whatever we had to do to get home so that I could get back to my job. That's why I hated it. And I was always, even at work, I was always rushed. I was always just not enough time in the day, until I really started getting organized with my time and using a Google Calendar in conjunction with my scheduling software. I literally just don't talk to anybody on the phone unless it's on the calendar. I won't allow it unless, of course, it's an emergency or something important, or I know that somebody's stuck in the middle of a deal and they don't have time to be fooling around scheduling a call. But for the most part, I've gotten very disciplined over the years and stopped being busy all the time. And I've had even you folks say, I don't want to bother you. I know you're busy. I'm like, well, I'm not really busy, and that's because I've gained control of my time. And that's what I would love to pass on to you this evening. Really gaining control of your time. If you could gain control of 90% of the time that you spend, that's huge. Instead of just doing what's before you to do, as things come up, and just do things as they appear. That's when my life changed, especially now that I'm scheduling calls with people at banks and scheduling calls with you guys. That has really streamlined my time and my efforts. So that's essentially how I'm able to I've got a couple calls scheduled for tomorrow on Friday, and I know, for that period of time, that's going to be my focus. I see my calendar says, hey, you got somebody calling in at 2:00. Stop what I'm doing, go find myself a quiet spot, and take care of business. So we're scheduled to head into Tampa, and I've got an appointment scheduled with a bank that I ended up buying a note from 2 years ago that ended up paying off. And I want to get back in there and knock on that guy's door again, and see if I can't reopen that and reestablish that connection. So I'll be able to write off a portion of this trip by making that trip over to that bank. He was very accepting of my connection last time, and I don't know if he's even still contemplating banks or not, but we're going to talk, and we'll see if there's anything that comes out of it for all of us. Hopefully that'll be a true story. So listen, I wanted to open this part up to any questions that people are having with any deals that they're working on, or any communication issues that they're having with banks, good or bad. And any questions about the note business in general, I'd love to help you out with that.
Mike, it's Corey.
Hey, buddy, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
Great.
Good. Hey, it's kind of more of an observation. So if anybody is using Distress Pro to source any data for their bank prospecting, I think it was last week they updated their quarter. So Distress Pro now has all Q4 data. So if you haven't been on there in a while and you're working your prospects, you might want to check back and just see the current data. For the most part, what I've seen, the people that I was targeting, I would say in general, everything is getting worse as far as non-accrual. Not everybody, but majority of the people that I've seen. And the REO is very low because they haven't really been able to foreclose as much.
I agree. Well, that's great, Corey. Thanks for sharing that. So when you say getting worse as far as non-performers increasing?
Yes, not everybody, but in general, yes.
Yeah. Now, one thing I find that's interesting is people in forbearance, how they are actually reporting the loans to the FDIC. That comes down to a loan bank level issue. Banks that are not federally backed for forbearance, those banks I heard were going to report as non-performing. Banks that are federally backed were going to be not reporting as delinquent. So it remains to be seen how these forbearance programs are actually going to affect people's credit going down the line. I know that bankruptcies are off because of all the government programs to forbear all the foreclosures or forego the foreclosures for now, and also the federal money and the unemployment and all the great programs that are out there supposedly helping people out are kind of putting off people that would normally go into bankruptcy because they're not getting foreclosed on and trying to postpone their bankruptcies, which I've had, over the years, borrowers that play that game just to stay the foreclosure and keep them in their houses a little bit longer. And that's been put off. And so that's huge, for the bankruptcy attorneys that are out there. And so, yeah, thanks for that, Corey. I appreciate that. Yeah, so any other questions that I can help anybody with here tonight?
Hey, Mike, this is Tom.
Hey, buddy.
Hey, yeah, I had lunch with a friend yesterday, and he's a buyer at the courthouse auction, the foreclosure auction, and he said the counties he usually works, which is Okeechobee County and Palm Beach County, he said there's not a lot of inventory. He said it's, especially in some of the smaller counties, he's kind of ventured away from the larger counties to try to get away from the crowds and the competition, whether it's online or not. But he said, with, the COVID rules about not being able to foreclose, there's very little inventory out there. So I just thought that was kind of interesting, because you would think that, with all the hardships that are going on out there, that people would be going into foreclosure left and right, but it's not showing up at the auction just yet. So I guess we'll see what happens later this year.
But are they allowed to foreclose?
I don't think they are.
Yeah.
And I don't think they are.
I've got two in Florida going on right now, and we cannot get a sale date set. So, that's the issue. And so I think even the foreclosure attorneys are hurting a little bit, because typically I would be writing them checks for getting preparation for this, submitting the strike price and sending out notices for the sale date. That's just not happening. Sale dates are not being set.
Yeah.
It's crazy. I know in Ocean County, New Jersey, the few houses that they were allowed to actually foreclose on, and there was a certain pocket that they were working with only like 3 or 4 items to bid on. They were holding the auction in the underground parking garage. It's not underground. It's just it's got coverage for snow and rain, but it's outside for the COVID thing. So I found that was really interesting too. But I can't get sale dates set. Now in Indiana, we had a property with a sale date set for January 7th. So in Indiana, we were able to get a sale date set. So that place is, I guess, up and running for foreclosures. So it remains to be seen as these pockets finally open back up. Does that mean that Okeechobee and Palm Beach counties are going to, and all these other Florida counties and counties throughout the country are just going to have a massive flood of foreclosure inventory? And we all know what that does to house prices. So I don't know what
Yeah.
you think about that, Tom. I mean, does that seem like a possibility?
I just don't know. You mentioned that they're holding off on setting sale dates, but if they're still allowed to file and, file their complaint in
Yep.
lis pendens, then I haven't really looked at the courthouse data county to county to really see how many cases are being filed. Because, if there are new cases being filed every month and that number's going way up, then yeah, once they open up the floodgates on setting sale dates, then we're going to see a lot of properties hit the sale.
I think so. I know for a fact that on Friday, last Friday, we were granted a judgment on a foreclosure in Illinois, which is fantastic news for us because these people have been fighting us all the way. Right from the beginning, they said that they weren't served, so then we had to go and reserve, which took another 3 months. Then they said they wanted to perform a mediation, which we both had to pay for, and we came to an agreement, which they did not uphold. And then this is the house that someone on this call actually made a call. They listed the house for sale, and we called up to see if we could actually make an offer on it. The realtor wouldn't talk to us. We're like, what the heck is going on? And so we don't know if this sale is actually for real or not. They kept sending us documents requesting a short sale, but they would not provide the information for the first mortgage or any HUD information for us to negotiate a short sale. So we just said, we're not going to offer a short sale on this property. We can't accept it. And they, came back and said, we want to do the short sale and we think there's equity. We think the first mortgage is, I think like 114 and the house is worth 325 or 320 or something. And so they're playing games with us. Mm-hmm. They played games with us throughout the whole thing. I don't know, Jay, if you want to jump in and talk about this one too, if you're available.
Yeah. So can you hear me okay?
Yeah, good. Hey, Jay, I haven't talked to you in a while.
No, I was actually dying to call you and see what happened on this. But what I wanted to do was because I called, but they have like 5 other people maybe in a group call as well and record those calls and be able for you to at the mediation. So what you can do is you can then just play them for the mediator or the judge and just completely impugn the borrower's credibility. So then the judge might hopefully get the picture.
Well, we were granted judgment, so I think this is getting ugly, and
well, that's it. Okay, good.
Yeah, we got the judgment on Friday, and we're like, well, now they're really grasping, and so they actually called and left a voicemail Tuesday. Today's Thursday, so I think it was Tuesday, saying that they had an offer on the property, and we would like to request the next step for a short sale. And we said at this time we're not allowing a short sale. And then they wrote right back immediately with an email. I sent a full payoff letter. And like I said, I've got Money Lender Professional on my computer. And so if anybody, this is a little bit off topic, but what I want to tell everybody that is on this call that has Money Lender Professional, if you print to PDF, you have to change the font from, I think it's Helvetica is what the default font is. You have to change it to like Times New Roman on every box that comes out of your statement. You just have to do it once. When you manage your templates, you have to go in and change the font from Helvetica to Times New Roman because it comes out garbled if you don't. So what I've been doing is going in, printing the statement to PDF. That saves the document as a PDF file in a folder. And then I generate an email and attach that PDF to the email and send that off. I don't have to print anything. And that's what's going out to this. In this case, it's going out to a realtor. But, you know, they're not providing any HUD information. They're not providing what the offer is. It's just all, it's just really, really ridiculous. So yeah, I don't think, Jay, this one's going to be in front of a judge anymore because we have a judgment.
Okay, so when does the sale happen then? Is it set for sale date?
They said 90 days. We've got 90 days. They're going to start their notices. What the heck else were they going to do? I believe the people were served, and this time they, you know, were served this judgment, and so they said it'll take about 3 months. So I don't know if that's COVID thing or if that's I have no idea.
Yeah, I don't know the county either.
Yeah, Elgin, Illinois. So yeah, it's a very interesting thing, and as these pockets start to open up, you know, I remember back in 2009 and 10, banks were actually holding off on their foreclosures because they didn't want to oversaturate the market with these short sales, with these foreclosures, and overwhelm their REO department either. So it remains to be seen now. Are they going to, I know they've learned a lot of lessons from the last situation. Are they going to follow the same guidelines that they did before, right?
Yeah, extend and pretend.
Yeah, those were some fun times. So it's good to be armed with this information now, right?
Yeah, what I was trying to figure out was, do they have the ability to do that? Because a shit ton of these forbearances are expiring in March, and that's, you know, we talked about this a year ago, and said when those forbearances expire, and those people aren't paying their other bills. There's no way they're going to pay their mortgages. But I don't know what the mechanism is for the new administrations to allow the banks to kind of extend those out, because they're going to try to do like either a moratorium or give them, you know, a way to extend it out and just kind of soften the blow, or, you know, whatever you want to call it. Kind of like what they did, you know, 10 years ago.
Well, what did they do 10 years ago that's similar to this?
Well, like what you just said was, like, they didn't saturate the market. The banks got bailed out.
I got you. Yeah.
So instead of them having to sell these non-accruals, is the Fed going to allow them to do another forbearance for everybody? And I just don't know what the mechanism is, or does anybody? I don't know if anybody out here knows, or, you know, what the rules are and such, and you know everything. What do you think?
Well, I mean, I'm trying to think the last time anything was similar to this, where they held off on foreclosures and then they turned them. I seem to recall that did happen in some counties for some reason back in the day.
What I remember, and tell me if I'm wrong, is that what the banks would do is they would just leave on their books as performing, even though they weren't.
Oh man, I can't remember because.
So I got an example. So remember that loan I bought in Arizona? It was the second on that house where that attorney specialized in foreclosure prevention.
Yes.
When we looked at his credit report, the first was in a forbearance, but it was being reported as current. So
to the credit bureaus.
Right. So I don't know what the mechanism is or what prevents them from doing the same thing to the Fed, or if they can or they can't.
Gotcha. Well, reporting to the credit bureaus, I think, is different than reporting to the Fed.
Right.
You know, when they say how much non-accrual you have, is that a true story or not? And it does, like you say, what mechanism are they using to say this one's in forbearance and this one's in foreclosure, or this one's in forbearance and this one is 180 late delinquent? That remains to be seen. That really does.
Because that would be the easiest thing in the world for them to do, to do just a sleight of hand and just change the Fed, for the Fed to change the reporting requirements, and then problem solved, right?
Oh, man.
And I bet that, and I'm wondering if they can do that by executive order. I mean, I'm just, or just administratively, or.
Hey guys, this is Bill Boombox. How's everybody?
Hey, Bill.
Hey, one thing I think that might be pertinent is I noticed like Chase had set up separate entities to put stuff in, like before it goes to foreclosure. I started seeing a couple, like like it's basically like a trust, kind of like the way Deutsche Bank has them, and like U.S. Bank is known for that thing when it goes REO. I started noticing Chase had stuff like that, so they might be like moving it off the balance sheet and they'll service maybe, so I think there's some accounting tricks they can play too, especially if the regulators aren't, like Chase has, last I heard, like 32 billion for loan loss reserves right now. So, that's a lot of money to kind of write down a few things, move them off the balance sheet, keep it looking healthy.
Interesting. Yeah. So 32 billion, and that's,
if they're able to move them off the balance sheet, then they don't have to have as much in reserves, and they can kind of effectively do that extended time.
Yeah, and it's the one I saw. It was all the same addresses. Like Chase handles a lot of their payoffs to like Louisiana, so it's like all the same address. Same people probably, and all that stuff moves through MERS anyway. So who knows? Once they start moving it, whose balance sheet is it on anymore?
nice.
Yeah, so they could even probably create like junk bonds with that kind of stuff on it. Who knows? And throw a few of those in each one. So what I'm saying is, we're sitting on the outside. I don't have like personal knowledge. I do see, things moving around. So, it's hard to tell. What how their balance sheet looks to the regulators. And quite honestly, I don't think they're being that strict right now anyway, as you guys are suspecting also. One thing I was going to ask was also from our position, if we do like the seconds, if there is a flood of, REOs and, foreclosures, that could potentially wipe us out on a lot, like if there's not that much equity, that wouldn't be an ideal. So there would be more inventory, but then for us, they could wipe us out on a few of those, right? Like if the prices will come down.
If they're loans that we own,
yeah.
And there's a few people on this call that do have loans that are non-performing on the first and non-performing second. In a couple of cases, there's enough equity to think that either we could go in and get those loans fixed. Either we could bring those loans current ourselves just by going and making 6 payments and bringing it current and starting or continuing our foreclosure from second and beating the first mortgage to foreclosure so that we take possession of the house and keep that first mortgage current as we race to foreclosure and actually are able to foreclose from second position. Then we're the ones that are taking it to foreclosure and not the first mortgage. Those are on loans that we already own that we can control. And so that's the trick that we are going to have to employ if that really is the case. Or you could take a chance if you're not into it for too much, and it's not a good idea, but you could actually expect someone to bid above the first mortgage situation. So the way it works in quite a few counties is there's a representative. I'm just going to tell you how it is in Ocean County, and I think it's pretty popular. You guys can correct me if I'm wrong. So there is a representative at the front of the courthouse, at the front of the court, who represents 90% of the foreclosure attorneys that are foreclosing on these properties. So they have a list, and they know what the strike price is, meaning they know what that first mortgage is owed, or any mortgage, or the strike price. So I've foreclosed on houses where I was owed $90,000, but I set the strike price at $45,000, just hoping that I get over 45 at some point or at 45. And it's kind of like a reserve. So the representative that's representing me, if I say the strike price is $45,000, even though it's $90,000 is total owed me, the bank will counter offer anything below $45,000. So if bidding starts at $100 and someone says $4,000, someone says $8,000, $16,000, $32,000, the bank continues to counter that $32,000 offer with $33,000. And then someone says $38,000. And the bank representative comes back and says $39,000. And then someone says $44,000, the bank will come back and say $45,000. And then someone says $46,000, and the bank stops countering because they hit the strike price. And now the bidding hopefully continues with individuals in a room, someone taking it to $50,000, $55,000, $60,000 if there is value there. So that's what I've seen in the past on how these seem to work. And for someone who's not been to the auction, that's pretty much the procedure. So if there is enough equity protecting our second position, hopefully the bidding will continue on to pay off the first and then start to pay off us as second position as well. And so that's how it works. And if anybody has anything to add to that, I'd appreciate that.
Hey, Mike, this is Tom.
Hey, bud.
Hey, yeah, in Broward, which is basically Fort Lauderdale, Broward County, when I was bidding at the auction about 10, 12 years ago, the guy that would be there, we would refer to him as the plaintiff's rep. And he would, represent several banks, like you said. But when it was the old-fashioned way, where we'd actually meet in the lobby, they went online, I think around 2011 or 2012, they went online. So now it's, like an eBay auction kind of thing where you just bid it up online. So you don't ever see the plaintiff's rep. But we all used to just yell out, "Where are you going on this one?" And because you start at 1,000 and the auction would last all day long, you'd be there all day. So just get to the point, stop beating around the bush, and just tell us where you're going on this. And the clerks of the court, they really didn't care, maybe because they didn't want to be there all day either. And he would just yell out the strike price and just tell us, where we're going on it. And then we, either people would bid on it or they wouldn't bid on it. And it wouldn't be a big build-up process. We would just start at his number.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, that's where it was at Ocean County too, until one day they said, you know what, that's not right. We need to auction this thing from $100. And so, yeah, people go back and forth, $1,000, $1,000, $1,000. And the strike price is $230, and the bank can only counter with $1,000 higher bid, and they're at $13,000, and everybody's like, oh no, and off they go. Yeah, it takes a long time, and that's that's what I've witnessed in the past, or now, but in the future, I think we're in for quite a ride. With what's coming down the pike, and how it gets handled really remains to be seen. But to my point that I made earlier, this really is the time to be contacting banks and getting in touch with them and building relationships. Like I said, I'm going to shoot over to Tampa. I'm in Sarasota now, so we're going to be in Tampa. I don't know. I believe Monday or Tuesday, I'm going to get in touch with this guy. He may not still have anything for me, but that's okay. If I do the pop-in and get in touch with him and set this thing up, that's a lot of power in my favor. And I was talking to someone else on this call. What was really important in my conversations that I was having with banks prior, like this guy in Tampa, I said, listen, I'll come down there and talk to you directly, and we'll build a little mini vacation around it. And he's like, really? I said, hey, yeah, it's Florida, man. And it was Veterans Day, and Veterans Day weekend. I ended up meeting him on Tuesday or something. Anyway, we came down, got to see some of my old buddies, Jack Shea and stuff, and then got to pop in to this bank and sit down with them. And he sold me a note. He's like, I got a lot more of these things. We just merged with another bank. And I know that they've got a ton of stuff because we're the 7th bank that they have acquired. So they've acquired 6 other banks and we're the 7th one. And every time that banks acquire another bank, they end up with a lot of product that they don't like. And they end up with a lot of product that they do like. That's why they did the acquisition. But they end up with product that would not normally be in their wheelhouse. And this guy was hoping that he would be the one heading up that stuff that they did not want. And so we shall see. But what I was alluding to before, in the first 30 or 45 seconds of my conversation with a contact like this guy, even if they're not in beautiful Tampa, Florida, but if they're in, someplace out in the middle of Pennsylvania or something, I always offer to jump on a plane and come out and talk to them. I knew that that would separate me from all the people that are using Distress Pro that don't have the money to jump on a plane and go talk to them because they're just starting out. So that I use that as a total advantage. And if someone does get a contact and they need money to jump on a plane and fly out, please let me know. We'll get you out there because this stuff is important, and you want to stand out from all the rest of the people that are making these contacts and calls. And this guy in Tampa, he was totally open to it. Other banks, like, that would be a conflict of interest. We don't want to show favoritism. We want to keep this above board. Yeah, we appreciate you wanting to come out and buy us a steak dinner, but we want to keep this where it's kind of like a no-compete type thing. I totally understood that too, and I was relieved because I didn't want to fly out to Des Moines, Iowa. But that's how you can stand out from the rest, is by doing things that no one else is doing. I can promise you that no one else is talking to a bank rep and asking them for wiring instructions on the first or second phone call. I would, if I were you guys, ask them, say, hey, listen, you know what? Well, we're in preliminary stages. Let's go ahead and I'll get someone over here at the office to get with whoever we need to talk to you at your bank, at your office, and let's exchange wiring information. Get that set up ahead of time so that when it comes time to close, we just shoot the wire over. That kind of conversation, people, they are not getting that conversation from other people. Also, and I've mentioned this quite a few times in the education program, is to offer a secured connection to keep the information confidential when we do start actually exchanging data about these loans. We want to make sure that we are really being compliant with not sending. If you send anything, please don't send it by email. And that goes to show that you're, for one thing, experienced, and another thing is you're worried about their borrowers' confidentiality, and it shows them that you're a stand-up person, and you know what you talk about. Don't just say, oh, hurry up and send me over these notes, or whatever. So it's those 3 little things of jumping on a plane, offering confidentiality, and getting wiring instructions set up early on is really, it shows that you're ready to do business and you want to do business and you're set up for doing business. So with the wiring instructions, you want to make sure that your bank account reflects the name that your company is flying the flag under, and see if you can't actually get them to set that up, which is really cool. So any questions with any of that type of communication?
Hey, Mike, it's Corey.
Hey.
So me and Sachin, we had got a hold of a bank, and we had a conversation with them. My question is this person Yeah, he was the president of the bank, and he on their FDIC report, it did not show that they had ever sold. And he kind of, I don't know if he was even familiar with the process of selling. So I guess my question is, do you come across that often where, thank God Sachin was on the phone, because he was able to explain to him. I would have been, I guess, stuck in the mud at that point. But I guess my question is, do you come into contact with many people from the banks that have never sold and don't have a process set up?
Yes. Yeah, I actually came up with a credit union a couple of years ago, and they're like, we did not even know that this existed. Why in the world would you ever buy something as bad as this? And I said, well, there has to be some price adjustments. I said, I understand that, but can you walk me through the process? I said, well, this could really take place a number of different ways. And I kept myself wide open because, I was really tiptoeing around to make sure that I could do this in the most comfortable way for them as possible. So like I said, I really kept my conversation very vague and very in their favor. Like, I did not want them to think that I'm taking advantage of them. So what I did was I explained to them how I've done deals in the past with other banks. Not how we're going to do business, but how I've done deals with other banks in the past. And that process is, so you're going to send over as much data as you are comfortable providing me. And then we're going to review that data and see if there's any other information that we think you might be able to supply us. And like if you're buying second mortgages, do you know who the first mortgage is? Do you know what this and that? And the information that we really think is legit, that is necessary for us to actually get the deal done. So our preliminary review of the information that you've given us either is or is not sufficient enough for us to actually close and purchase these loans. And then once we review these loans, we will submit an offer on what we think we can afford to buy these things at. And you review it and feel free to counter our offer. And if you counter our offer, great. We'll review that and see if it's actually possible, because we hope that we can hit your number that you want us to close on. And, we really want this transaction to take place. So we will do our best to hit the numbers that you want us to hit. If at that time we just can't agree on a number that works for both of us, then we destroy all the documents that we have and we just set that deal aside and we'll pass on the purchase. If we do come to an agreement on a price, then either it depends on how much information they've actually given you, and this is where it gets a little dicey. Either you will go ahead and say, listen, and like I said, this is where it's really wide open. It depends on who you're doing business with too. Do you know this company? Do you know this bank or not? I recommend for the first. What's that?
I said we don't really know them. We've just talked to them once.
Okay. But this is an actual institution. This is not a hedge fund.
Correct.
Okay. So I would have no problem wiring money to a bank ahead of time before seeing the collateral. I'll ask for the collateral first and say, listen, do you have these documents scanned electronically? I mean, the whole collateral file. We typically don't get a collateral file to look at prior to purchase. If we do, great. Sometimes we're overwhelmed with documentation of stuff that is totally irrelevant. So it really depends on if you're comfortable wiring funds to someone that you don't know. If it was a hedge fund, I would say don't do it. Use an escrow attorney for the first couple of trades so that you know that you're comfortable with the people and they do what they say they're going to do and they're not going to run off with your money. And from then on, proceed with caution. But if it's an institution, they're working, they're reporting to the FDIC, you can be pretty sure you're dealing with someone safe. But again, this is not legal advice or anything like that. But I would definitely make sure I know who I'm wiring money to, especially big dollars. And say, so then we will agree to a price and try to get a hold of the collateral files, and then say, listen, we need to draft a purchase and sale agreement, which I already have copies of purchase and sale agreements that I'm happy with. In that purchase and sale agreement, you want to have, obviously, an attorney review it and make sure that you're not walking into a mess. And in there, you want to have provisions for, let's say you're buying 20 loans and 3 loans get kicked out. Meaning they're not going to sell these 3 even after you wired the funds because of maybe they worked out an agreement with the bank during the sale process. But for some reason, these 3 loans fall out of the trade. How will that be handled? That'll be listed in the purchase and sale agreement. Well, the refund will be according to the loan level pricing that you put on the purchase and sale agreement. Okay, great. So the 3 loans that fell out are A, B, and C, and we bought the whole pool at 40 cents on the dollar, but let's say we put a lot of high value on A, B, and C and a low value on D, E, and F. Well, A, B, and C, we're doing a pool purchase at 40 cents on the dollar, but we need to go to loan level pricing for the purchase and sale agreement in case of any refunds. I learned that from, you talk about going to a $50,000 seminar. Well, I've been to a couple $50,000 seminars where I didn't go to loan level pricing. I went to pool level pricing, average of the whole pool, and the good ones seem to have fallen out. And now I'm stuck with a 20-cent bid where I had an internal pricing of 60 cents on those 3. So that's the way, and you're explaining this, say, we need to draw up a purchase and sale agreement. Obviously, you guys, if you want to get me involved, I would be happy to help you with what I have already existing. And then you can still have your lawyer or your partners or whoever go ahead and tweak it even further, constantly tweaking purchase and sale agreements, constantly tweaking lease agreements, constantly tweaking rental agreements, just getting written more and more in my favor over the years, and then copying other people's and stuff like that. So that's the process. We create the purchase and sale agreement. We look it over, we sign it, we send it over to you. You have your attorneys look at it. If they need to scratch anything or add anything, that's fine. We'll give you 5 days to review the PSA if they want, or 3 days or whatever they need. That's not really critical. And once we have a signed purchase and sale agreement, then if you're dealing with someone that you're not familiar with, like I said, you want to use an escrow attorney to like a company like I never remember their name. Who they're the ones that actually will do the collateral document inventory, and I've used them so rarely. Anybody can help me out. Anyway, they review the collateral. All the collateral, those 20 files are sitting over there at. Why can I never think of the company? Document review. I don't know if anybody can remember that. They're holding the collateral files. We're going to use an escrow attorney to hold the funds. Once the collateral is inventoried by the company that I can't remember their name, then they say, okay, this is what's missing. There might be 4 assignments that are missing. Richmond Monroe, there we go. They will actually try to produce the documents that are missing, but the other 16 loans are good to go, and we'll hold these 4 off to the side. They look at the PSA and they say, okay, for these 16 loans, it's $250,000. 250 of the 300,000 gets released, and when these other 4 documents come in, if they are actually documents that could stop you from starting foreclosure, then those loans need to sit on the side. The escrow attorney releases 250 of the 300,000. The other 4 documents get fixed, and now we have a completed transaction. Collateral files are either sent to us or electronically sent from Richmond Monroe to our company. And in the purchase and sale agreement, we now have 45 days to make sure that all the documents are, that we have clear and equitable title if Richmond Monroe was not able to give us that you're clear to go thing. And that's basically what I explained to a bank. That's how we've done it in the past. If you have anything to add or subtract from that process, let me know. Another way that we've done it is through an indicative bid, where you show us as much information as you can. We will provide an offer, and then we've got 15 days to actually prove that the information that you sent to us is legit and correct. And at that time, we have the option to fade our bid if we find that some of the information you provided us is not accurate. So what's the important information? Well, status of the first mortgage. If you say these 20 loans are all current on the first, and we find out that 3 of them are in foreclosure, well, we're going to fade our bid on those 3 and find out and make sure that the other 17 are current on their first. In that situation, that's the process, but then everything from there on is the same. We agree to a price on those 20 loans, we faded our bid, and now it's just like the other process that we've done. I've done a few other trades, but I think that's essentially the normal process that I'm familiar with using. I had one bank, this one up in Tampa, and I really wanted this loan. It was a non-performing second mortgage on a little house in Tampa, I think it was. And they're like, oh, okay, so yeah, you can wire in 30 days. And I wired him 3 days later. He's like, hey, I see that you wired already. I said, yeah, I didn't want, this thing to be kicking around and us forgetting about it or anything. So he goes, okay, great, cool, I appreciate that. He sent me a collateral file. I had a feeling that this guy was ready to pay. He offered me $500 a month. I said, you know what? Let me see if I can get 460 approved. He's like, oh, that's cool, man. Thank you very much. I said, these guys are tough, man. I don't know if I can get it approved for you or not, but let me see what I can do. And called him up 2 days later. I said, you know what? I got it down to 465. He's like, that is freaking awesome. So I won this guy over. And then, I don't know, 7-8 months later, the person that actually found this bank for me, not only did he broker these notes, and I gave him a brokering fee, but I then gave him 20% ownership of this note as well, just because I could, and it was such a sweet deal. And I knew that he could use the bump. And 8 months later, the house sold. I got paid in full, and my buddy got a check for, I don't know, $8,000 or something, on top of the commission that he got for $2,000. So for making a couple of phone calls on LinkedIn, he ended up with a $10,000 check, and I ended up with a loan to pay it off and a great bank contact. And so if I go and reestablish this connection, I'll go ahead and connect my buddy and let him do all the relations again and do it again. So that's really how simple it is. If you find a bank that has never done this before, it's your job to explain to them. You can go back and listen to this recording and kind of create these as bullet points for things you want to touch on when you're talking to a bank that has never sold before. Let me tell you, it's a fantastic thing because you're driving the bus now. You're the one calling the shots, and you're proving yourself to know what you're talking about. And of course, if you want to bring me in, if you're more comfortable with having me make the conversation, I have no problem doing that either. But let me tell you, it's fun. And the only thing is once they realize that there's this whole secondary market out there of us people, you may end up with some competition, especially if you don't close like perfectly, the first day, the first time. If you're not able to close the deal, they may start looking for other people because now you taught them the process So it's kind of a catch-22, but you got to do it if you want to get some deals done. Let's see.
Hey, Mike Sachin here.
Hey.
Yeah, hi. This was a situation which I had mentioned earlier too. It was a business loan. They were trying to sell or trying to gauge price on, I don't know what. But they've been sitting on our NDA for the last 2 weeks and haven't responded back. So, I don't know where they want to go with that.
So who sent the NDA to who?
We sent the NDA to the bank.
And that's in there.
We asked them, do you have a... Sorry?
Yeah, no. So they asked you for a non-disclosure agreement?
Yes. We said, you have one, we'll prefer to work with yours, but they said, no, you proposed one, so we proposed one.
Okay. So have you reached back to see what's wrong?
No, Corey reached out, and I think they came back with an email yesterday or day before saying our lawyer is still chewing up your NDA. I'm like, what's there to... on a 3-page document? Why does it take 3 weeks for you to respond? But anyways.
So what's who initiated the NDA?
I initiated the NDA.
Why?
Because they said you proposed one, so I proposed one.
No, I mean, they asked you for a non-disclosure agreement?
Yes.
For confidentiality reasons?
Yeah.
Okay. I wonder why that would be a problem. Because those things aren't worth...
I think so, but I think maybe there is something else, because he also mentioned that, banks are busy with dispersing PPP money now.
Yep.
So maybe that must be the bandwidth suck at the moment, but and they haven't sold earlier. And this is a business loan, so we specifically talked to him about real estate. He says, no, the property values are doing well, so we don't see any problem there.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, well, keep after it. Don't let it slip away. Yeah, definitely keep after it. But yeah, I try to let as little mumbo jumbo in the very beginning tie anything up. I mean, I guess all they were worried about was you actually sharing that information out. Am I reading that, sounding that right?
I don't think so, but maybe they hadn't done that. So it was pretty actually, in my life too, India is pretty common to start with. So I said, okay.
Yeah. Non-disclosure agreements are, I don't know what you guys know about them, but or non-circumvention agreements are just like ridiculous. They don't hold up in any type of court. But
yeah, it's a necessary housekeeping thing, but I totally haven't seen any mess up ever in my life on NDA, confidentiality agreement, or non-circumvention.
Yeah. So maybe they are just going crazy with this money going out. Well, good, great job, guys. I mean, you got to an NDA. That's great, and you just started out. How long have you been doing it? Just maybe 2 months now or something?
Yeah, it was probably my second week of prospecting.
Oh.
And it wasn't even the right person. I just called them, and I left a voice. I asked for the person I was looking for from Distress Pro. They said she's been gone for a year. So then I just asked who the other person is who replaced her. They gave me his voicemail. I just left a voicemail, and like 4 days later, he called back.
Sweet. Yeah, that's fantastic. And I think you guys nailed another one, didn't you?
Yeah, but we were supposed to have a phone call with him, but the day of the call, we called and he said that he was with somebody else doing something. But I'm still going to continue to follow up. I actually sent him another follow-up this week. So, but he does have seconds.
Sweet.
That's what we were talking about.
Great. Let's get some deals, man. I'm ready. Anybody have anything else they wanted to ask or add tonight? Everybody's good? All right. Well, listen, have a great week. Keep making contacts with banks. I will still be checking up my email and paying attention here. And hopefully you guys go out and find some deals, and we'll be working on something before you know it. Have a great week, and look forward to talking to you guys. Have a great night.
Safe driving.
Thank you. We're done driving.
Thank you.
Good night, everyone.
Bye,
Cheers,
guys.
everybody.